As Michigan's most powerful and influential voice for business, the Michigan Chamber of Commerce stands ready to serve you. Go to mychamber.com, that's MICHAMBER.com, to learn more now.
This is Christine MacDonald. I'm a reporter at the Free Press. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm okay. Is this a good time to talk? Or okay, great. Well, I just wanted to give you a little idea of what I was doing. So a couple of weeks ago, I got some calls from people who were trying to get their family members out of the Wayne County Jail, and they had already paid the bond. And it was, in this case, one of them was like 7 days, 8 days, and then the other person, I want to say 2 weeks. So they had paid the bond. The judge, ordered them on a tether. I wanted to talk with some folks who've been affected because I know people, could lose their jobs, with this additional time.
I lost a lot of everything. I lost kind of like my career.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
In fall of 2020, Paige Cheatham found herself stuck in the Wayne County Jail with her bond already paid, but unable to leave. You can hear her on the phone here with Free Press investigative reporter Christine MacDonald telling her story of what happened and the impact on her life.
I did CNA work. I hate to talk about it because this is the dumbest stuff ever.
It's stories like this that led MacDonald and fellow reporter Joe Guillen to probe into an ongoing concern in Wayne County, tied to delays in fitting GPS tethers. You might know them best as ankle bracelets. While officials are defending the delays and saying instances we know of are unique circumstances, those with eyes on the justice system say it raises major red flags and questions. People being held, like Cheatham, often haven't been convicted yet.
Yeah, I think it's about fundamental rights of people who are accused of crimes, innocent until proven guilty. Does that matter? Are we holding to that as we should be?
I'm Kerry Jr. II, and this is On the Line. The I-Team, the illustrious I-Team at the Detroit Free Press, fantastic. So you two have been reporting on a situation in Wayne County that's been keeping people in jail longer. Can you tell us what's going on?
Yeah. So it is kind of odd that we were working on the same story at the same time.
That's Free Press reporter Christine MacDonald again, speaking with us this week about her ongoing project with Joe Guillen. The two are members of our investigative team, also known as the I-Team.
Yeah, I had gotten a random email from a reader who said she was having trouble getting her significant other out. She had paid bond. He was in jail facing some charges, and they were going on 7 days. So that's when I started looking into this and made some calls and began learning about this backlog.
I got a tip of someone who had some issues with the tether unit in Wayne County.
Joe Guillen.
So we kind of teamed up, and basically what it boils down to is people who are charged with crimes and have conditions where they are to be released on bond. After they meet those, usually financial requirements, they have to post a dollar amount, and they are to be fitted with a tether before they are actually released from jail. There was a lag, days long, more than a week in some cases, where their actual release from jail was delayed. So that delay can have profound impacts on those people's lives. So in reality, it was an issue of fundamental rights of the accused.
For those who aren't familiar, what is a tether?
It's a monitoring device. People, nickname it the ankle bracelet. In general cases, just locates you electronically, right? The sheriff's office is wanting to, make sure you don't try to contact that alleged victim or may stay away from another area that they don't want you in before you face trial, essentially.
Nowadays, judges are calling for use of a tether a lot more than before.
The use of tethers have exploded. Prior to the pandemic, you only had about 600, between 600 and 700 people on tethers most facing charges, and now we're at 17, almost 1,700. At one point last year, it was at 1,800. So it's a huge jump, almost 3 times the number of people.
That's largely because officials have been trying to keep people out of shared confined spaces due to COVID-19. But MacDonald tells us the change also comes from pushes for criminal justice reform and pressure on judges to keep those charged with nonviolent offenses out of jail.
In a jail in Wayne County, notably, that has horrible conditions historically.
Could you elaborate more on the jail conditions?
Well, I know, Joe, you researched a little bit about it, but there was a case filed in the 70s by inmates originally about how bad the system was. That case was successful, and there were a number of orders that came out of that case. Staffing numbers had to be at a certain point, and again, the conditions. Joe, help me out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a report in 2015 that the Free Press did with a visit to the jail where with our own eyes, we saw problems with medical equipment, stench of urine, body odor, overcrowding, malfunctioning fire alarm systems. I think, Christine, you heard something about cold temperatures. I mean, these are winter months, and nobody has really disputed these. So going back to the issue of how many people are out on tether, our story looked at a specific issue and how the delay affects people who are put on tether, but there is a much broader argument and debate over whether these programs are appropriate at all, whether there should be these surveillance programs. So it is kind of important to keep that broader question in mind about, are tether programs, are they effective tools for public safety? Because we talked to some, mass incarceration opponents who argue that there really is no proof that these tether programs work at all.
But the tether program is in place in Wayne County and getting a lot more use in programs in, say, Oakland or Macomb. And as for the delays, MacDonald and Guillen found multiple stories of folks who hadn't been released yet after posting bond because they were required to get a tether, but jail staff hadn't been able to fit them with one yet.
I think the union has been some of the most vocal and critical of the problem, saying that they really feel that the unit has been stripped, and that's part of the problem of why that there's such a backlog. So that's one of the main reasons why at least the union officials are saying that there's a problem. The sheriff's office acknowledges there's a delay. There's Chief Dunlap, or Robert Dunlap, runs the jails. He's acknowledging there are some cases that take longer when there are complications. There's a broad potential list of complications. We talked about if you face charges in another county, let's say the individual has a warrant up in the UP and for whatever, and that has to be resolved. And because the whole point is you don't want to endanger the public if you have somebody facing a crime elsewhere, right? Is their argument. And that other complications could be, we talked about the victim, or getting a victim's address, putting that into the computer, making sure that is a no-go zone, on that tether.
Even so, right now, we don't actually know the extent of the issue, just the stories of the impact.
Sheriff's office says that those are outliers and that the average time now has gone from 48 hours to 72 hours, but we don't have any data right now to back that up. And that's something that we're pursuing so we can actually get that answer. They wouldn't give us the data right when we asked them on the spot. So we had to put in a Freedom of Information Act request to get the data to see if they are in fact outliers or if this is a much broader problem, which, taken into account all these other perspectives and opinions from people not charged with crimes but who are in the know, it looks like it is a much bigger problem than just a few outliers.
After the break, we hear from Paige Cheatham again, learn what officials have to say, and discuss how you can help with this ongoing investigation.
As Michigan's leading statewide business advocacy organization, the Michigan Chamber of Commerce is on the job every day standing up for job providers in the legislative, political, and legal arenas. We are the unified voice of thousands of members who employ over 1 million Michiganders. We work with trade associations and local chambers of commerce of every size and kind in all 83 counties of the state. We know business in Michigan. Learn more today about how we can protect, connect, and strengthen your business. Whether that's advocating on your behalf at the Capitol, helping meet your informational, training, and networking needs, or boosting your bottom line visibility and voice, we're on the job for you. Make my chamber your chamber. Go to mychamber.com, that's MICHAMBER.com, to learn more now.
And we're back, talking with investigative reporters Christine MacDonald and Joe Guillen about a tether delay. It's preventing people who are supposed to be out on bond from being released from jail. How does this impact the lives of the inmates and their families?
You know, the hardest part of the reporting is finding folks who are affected directly by this, who would be willing to, share that with us, and being on the record, meaning, their name would be included, and that because obviously this is a traumatic experience. If somebody's facing charges, it's upending their life.
Other people in the justice system, lawyers, bail bond agents, unions representing jail staffers. Everyone knew what we were talking about. Everyone knew about the delay. It's just, as Christina said, very difficult to humanize the issue when sharing your story is, potentially embarrassing, or it could affect your job or whatever.
We talked to one woman who had a series of delays in getting a tether too. And she talked about how it kind of made a bad situation worse, right?
You were talking about Paige, correct?
Yeah, Paige, yeah. She's a young mom, 24-year-old Detroit woman who has 4 children. Her first encounter with Wayne County Jail, she was in for an additional 4 days after her mom paid her bond. And then in the second time,
for the same case,
she ended up having her bond increased during a court hearing by a judge. And after that court hearing, she remained about another 6 days.
Officials have argued her second stay was shorter than 6 days.
My mom kept calling up there. My mom and my sister kept calling up there every single day. And they just kept telling, she's not on the list. She's not on the list today.
Wow.
She's not on the list today. She's not on the list today. Call back tomorrow. My mom will call back tomorrow. She was like, well, they're not answering the phone, so you'll have to wait until the people come around to see if anybody names is called.
Yeah. And that was really frustrating, especially frustrating for her, because she had already been on a tether.
And I went in there on tether, and I was just waiting on another tether. So that was like the dumbest shit ever.
And she ended up losing a lot of work because she couldn't get out of the facility. Had to wait several days. Like I said, a bad situation worse. She missed her son's 4-year-old's birthday, and she ended up having to move in with her sister, in part because of this time in jail. The sheriff department, we did ask them for a response about why she was waited so long, beyond that normal, typical 72 hours. And they said, that they were happy overall with that turnaround time, because she was facing such serious charges that they wanted to make sure that things like, having a victim's address in the system where she could not go, those are some of the additional complications that come with that.
Cheatham faces charges including assault with intent to murder, but maintains her innocence. Meanwhile, Robert Dunlap, the chief of jails and court operations for Wayne County, did respond to the investigative team's reporting on the matter. He actually addressed their story during a public meeting.
Last week, Dunlap and a number of defense attorneys, spoke with the county commission.
Unfortunately, there's so much of what really goes on that did not make it into that story.
He said there is a backlog across the criminal justice system in America.
We currently have about 300 plus individuals that have been waiting to go to trial for now 2.5 years, okay? That backlog is not because of the Wayne County Sheriff Office, just like, any backlog or delay with tether.
He also went on to say,
it is my firm belief that not only do we run the largest and best tether operation in the state of Michigan and probably the country, we have some very hardworking individuals that are assigned to the day-to-day operation and management of that unit. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But are we close? Certainly, as I stated, we are probably the very best, as demonstrated by the confidence of the court to continue to place people on our tether program.
And Dunlap said, part of the issue is explaining to folks, educating folks about the process, knowing that it is a difficult process that can be lengthy because of those complications we talked about. Processing all those folks can take time, is what he said that they've got to educate folks about. But, to the people who are stuck in jail and have no idea why they're still there, even after their loved ones have paid bond, it's little consolation. They just want to know when they're getting out.
As for the I-Team, they're just getting started with this story.
I think it's always difficult to bridge the anecdotal with the full picture.
Joe Guillen.
And it's especially difficult in this case when we're not getting the full picture from the sheriff's office when we're asking for it. They were giving us the full picture on certain aspects, how the unit works, things like that. But when it came to providing us current data with how things are how things are working in terms of the delay, for example, give us some hard information on what is the average delay. We were not given that. And even down to the number of deputies working in the tether unit, staffing in the tether unit, they would not provide that information.
Dunlap has said his department has tripled the amount of staff budgeted since the pandemic began. But the I-Team is seeking specifics. What other questions do you all have with this case?
We have a lot, and what we hope to look at is the overall pandemic delay that's on the criminal justice system and how have folks been affected. We've heard from a lot of folks that people are waiting years for trials at this point and have been in the jail for more than 2 years. So we want to take a deeper look at that. We've touched on the cost and the impact of being on a tether financially to people. And we want to take a closer look at, who's profiting, the companies that are contracting with the county on this. And so this is a new area for Joe and I to delve into, and we're interested because we think it really has affected a lot of people that don't normally have a voice a lot of times, unfortunately. So we hope to get deep into this.
Any other questions, Joe, that you might have for this case on top of that?
No, I think Christine really did a good job of explaining the unanswered questions. She nailed that.
But if we could offer one more, it's to you, our listeners. MacDonald and Guillen want to talk to folks dealing with issues in the criminal justice system.
Have you been directly affected, not just by tether, but the delay in the criminal justice system, the pandemic delay? I think that's the umbrella that we're kind of looking at.
Give MacDonald a call at 313-418-2149 if you have a story to share. All right, well, with that, I want to say thank you both, Joe Guillen, Christine MacDonald, for taking the time to talk with us. I just really appreciate you all taking the time.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
This episode was produced by me and Darcy Moran with help from Tad Davis. Anjanette Delgado and Marianne Struman are our executive producers, and Peter Bhatia is our editor. The music for the show is called Fort Trumbull and was produced by DJ Lost Boy. Thanks for listening, and if you like the show, leave a rating, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next week.